welcome back. Wasn't Peter's gold tree an interesting concept? Well, we're in the advisor segment and we're joined again by Dale Briley-Trello. Thank you very much again for joining us.
No, thanks for having me again, Kerry.
I'm really pleased to have you along because it seems every time I ask you to come along the show, it suns and it's nice to get outside. It's really good.
Yeah, lovely day out here.
It is, it's superb. Now, goals we're talking about.
Yep.
Now, you know that in this series we're actually going to be analysing Fred and John.
Yeah, that's correct, yep.
So you're reasonably familiar with Fred and John.
Yep.
So what I'd like you to do is talk about goals that might apply to Fred and then might apply to John, and if we feel that those two extremes don't cover everyone who's watching, we'll maybe fill in a hole in the middle.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, obviously Fred and John are on the extremes of different parts of their life. Fred's goals, obviously he's got the cash flow situation sorted, but maybe the business side of things with his computer software business, he needs to focus on that area. Personal side of things, he's got a steady girlfriend, so lifestyle choices in regards to family, children, whether the house he's got at the moment might still be the right size. John, on the other hand, obviously is spending more than he's earning, which is a massive problem, and he's got a high amount of debt, so he really has goals and objectives of reducing his cash flow spending, but also then really reducing his debt, non-deductible debt or home loan debt, or what we can call as bad debt. So really on the opposite extremes of what we're looking at.
Okay, so getting to Fred, he's a computer technician. You mentioned business goals might be good.
Yep.
He's clearly working on that computer program of his. Do you think he's gone as far as working out where he's going with it, or?
I think he still needs to probably drill down a bit further. We've heard about SMART goals before. That could be a big way of moving the business forward, and he really needs to maybe drill it down to step-by-step goals, because his business is growing but he wants it to get to a certain point in time.
Well, I guess he wants to live off it at some point, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Yeah. And you've identified the fact that he's got a steady girlfriend, and I guess that automatically, or could well lead to a more permanent relationship and children, and with children maybe the house is wrong, and
yep.
So do you think he's probably ready to think about issues like that in relation to goals?
Well, in regards to what we need to do and what he needs to do is sit down and maybe either himself or with his girlfriend have that conversation. They might not be at that stage yet, or they might be moving towards that stage, and they might have a time frame that they're looking at, which then leads on to the children, the house, and a flow-on effect from that. But it all starts with setting your goals and objectives in the time frames.
Yeah, I guess when you're doing this, you're talking to a real person.
Yeah.
Fred's a figment of my imagination, I suspect.
Yeah, exactly.
And John. Now, John is a basket case, isn't he, really?
Well, earning good income, but obviously not going forward anywhere like Fred is. Spending way too much, debt way too high, and obviously leading a very extravagant lifestyle with the cars and the girlfriends and things like that.
Okay, so you would say to John, okay mate, you need to do this?
Well, possibly, but he has to want to be able to do it. If he doesn't have the desire or want to, we can set goals all we like, or he can set goals, but if it's not actually what he wants to achieve, if he wants to keep living the lifestyle, keep spending the money, he'll just fail in regards to the goals that we've set. So he has to want and have the desire to do that.
So passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's cool. Now you mentioned SMART goals before. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Well, obviously SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and timely. Specific, for example, a lot of people in everyday life say I want to be rich, but what is rich to one person might be different to another.
And what is rich and how much and when?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Someone might say they're rich with $1 million in the bank when they retire, which could be at age 65, where another person might only want $500,000. So that's where you can get specific in regards to how much and when. Yep.
Measurable, I guess we've covered that, haven't we?
Well, we basically have, because you've got to measure how you're going. You might break that down into specific time frames. So if you've want to have $100,000 within 5 years, or if for John's example, if he wants to pay down the debt in certain increments over a certain time frame.
Okay, so achievable. There's no point in wanting to earn $1 million a year if you're only earning $20,000 a year if you don't have a route to get there. So in that case, it might be to double your income or something like that.
Yeah, and having a steps or a pathway to achieving that, you probably won't be able to do that in one set thing.
Yeah. And realistic falls into the same sort of category, I guess.
Yeah, again, we've talked about it's all right to say you want to be rich, but is that realistic over 1 year? No, it's not, but maybe over the longer term, potentially it could be.
Yeah. And time-based or timely.
Yeah.
How important is that in terms of goals?
Oh, good, extremely important, because what happens is people just can't see how they're getting forward. So if you break it down into time periods, they can see that they're achieving it step by step, and it gives people a real boost when they get that one goal out of the way and then they move on to the next one. But you only do that by breaking it down into time-specific areas.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Dale, for being with us again.
No, it's no problem, Kerry.
Okay, Dale Brilley's been with us to help us with goals. Now, Dale's doing a show with us next week in terms of cash flow. Look, I hope he brings us good weather as well. It seems that Dale's a harbinger for the sun. Wouldn't that be lovely? We'll see you after the break.